This is an overview of Intuit's ProSeries tax software. ProSeries makes the job of preparing returns very simple. From its easy-to-follow data entry to its on-demand diagnostics, ProSeries can streamline your tax preparation processes. So it all starts here on the ProSeries home base screen. This is the first screen that you see when you launch the application. This is a listing of all the current clients that you have in ProSeries Tax. Let's mention a couple things that clients really enjoy about this screen. The first is you can see I've got a lot of information out here. I've got the name of the client, things like their home phone, their email. I can track the status of each return by using the really simple to use status function. I know who the preparer is, but you've got about 350 different fields that you can choose from. Not everybody wants to see the same things. So at the top of the screen, you would simply go to Home Base, go to Column Headings. Everything that you see on the left are the available columns. If you want to see prior year billing amounts or amount they paid with their extension, their AGI, carryovers, simply select what you want, click Add, and shift it to the right and add any columns that you want. If you look at the view in the upper left, there's a box called Home Base View and it says Form 1040 Individual. These are all my 1040 returns. What's nice about ProSeries is you can create additional views, as many as you like. Some clients I know like to create a view called Accounts Receivable. So I did that, and in that view, all I really wanted to see was their name, maybe their contact phone number, who the preparer was, the refund or tax due, the prior year bill, and what the total fees are for this year. So you can create any number of these home-based views. This is also where you would select to see your corporate clients, your partnership, S-corps, estates, and so on. And let me go back to the normal 1040 view. That's the more combined, showing everything. Okay. Also from here, you do all of your e-filing. So in the upper left, back to the home base view, we would go there and go to what we call the Efile Center. Our e-file is totally integrated. There's never a need for you to go to a website or log in or anything like that. You'll notice the view here is a little different because we want to show you things that are more related to e-file, like the name of the client, the types of returns you're going to be sending, and the current e-file status. So if you're ready to send a return, you simply highlight the client, click the button that says EF Now, and that begins the process of sending that return off to e-file. Okay? And then the status is automatically updated. As you send, it'll say sent. As it's been accepted, rejected, it'll show you that in the e-file status. Now, a newer feature for us, we've had a couple of years now, is called the e-signature. So now you're able to click the request link here prior to e-filing their return, send your client an email so that they can sign their 8879 digitally. We partner with DocuSign for our e-signature tool. One of the nice things we found about e-signature is over 80% of every taxpayer who signs their their documents this way does so on a mobile device. So they don't have to be home or tied to their computer. If you need to get a quick signature, they could be off at dinner. They could get their cell phone up, click a few buttons, and return the signed 8879 to you. So the e-file process within ProSeries is excellent. So we'll go back to the 1040 view. So now let's open a tax return. The example file that I'm going to use is a pre-existing return, Kevin and Sally Reeves. So let's go ahead and double click and open the tax return. And you notice that when we do this, it takes us to this page called the Federal Information Worksheet. This is kind of the starting point for you as you create your return. Personal information for taxpayer and spouse, things like name, social security number, email, work phone, things like that. Down a little lower is where we would put in the current address, followed by what the filing status is. If there are any dependents, you enter them all here on the information worksheet. Now, once you're done filling out this initial page, ProSeries is what we call a forms-based data entry system. So you can use the actual IRS form as your guide to how the information flows into the return. Okay? So on the left-hand side, you can click on Form 1040 and pull up page 1 of the 1040. If you slide down to line, which is now with the new short form, they say short form, right? Postcard that went from 2 pages to 8 pages. But just click right on the wage field right here. And then right here where it says wages, salaries, and tips, click the button and link to the W-2 directly from the form. It brings up the names of both of the current W-2s we have. So if I want to go to Intuit, I simply double click. I'm on the W-2 worksheet for Intuit, where I put in all the data related to the W-2. Now, when I'm done on a form like the W-2 and I want to go back to the 1040, in the upper right of the screen, there is a forward and a back button. Just click back and you're right back on the page, the 1040, and it will update the numbers as you edit numbers as you add additional W-2s. Okay? So that's how simple it is to use. If I want to slide down, go to Social Security benefits, I simply go to line 5A. It takes me right to Social Security benefits field and where I would enter that. So again, more of a forms type related system. Now, one thing that's really nice about ProSeries is as you enter the data into the system, we're constantly calculating the tax return in the background. So when you look at a form or a schedule or a worksheet, you always know that you're looking at the latest calculations. And if you look in the upper right hand side of my screen where it says balance due $7,200, this is what we call the refund monitor. In this example, this client has a balance due, but if it was a refund, it would show the amount of the refund and the exact amount of that. Okay, so as you add everything to your tax return, what we do on the left-hand side is we build out this section called Forms in Use. So as you add a form, as you add a schedule or a worksheet to the return, this is a list of everything you've already done. So I can click on Schedule A and see my itemized deductions for this client. I can click on my Schedule C for IT consulting and see that I've entered income amount of $225,000. Okay? So everything that I've already done shows up in the forms in use. This is really your primary navigation point once you have a tax return in the system. Okay? Now we also in the forms in use create a lot of things that you didn't necessarily have to ask for. Like if there's a payment, we create the 1040V. We automatically create a 2-year comparison side by side. We automatically create something called a tax history, which instead of a 2-year look back, it's a 5-year look back, and this is a nice document that you could ultimately print with your client's return. Okay? Now, below the forms in use, we have a secondary section here. We call this common forms. We know these are the forms that are probably used in 85 to 90% of every single return that's prepared in the United States. So if I want to add, let's say, a Schedule A, B, C, D, or E, certainly I can go to the 1040 and link from the 1040, but for me it's just as easy to come right over here and go, you know what, I'd like to add the 2441, and it will take me right to child dependent care expenses that I can fill out. So these are a lot of the common forms that you see that you use in the preparation of your returns. Now, if you don't find what you need in the common forms section, I can also scroll down a little bit, and what we do here is we break the return down by category. If you're looking for something that's considered income, you'll find it in the income section. All of your adjustments are found in the adjustments, all the deductions. So if I wanted to add, let's say, moving expenses, I can just click 3903. It says what's the primary move. I'll just go ahead and say, I'll just put in test. Takes me directly to the 3903. So again, you can work directly from the form by clicking Form 1040, going to a specific line and linking to that worksheet or schedule. But again, we have the common forms area which allows you to add things on the fly very, very easily. So let me flip over on the left, go back to the forms in use list. I'm going to go ahead and pull up Schedule B, for example. So in here I have the form Schedule B, and I've entered two things, Bank of America and Alliant Credit Union. So let me go ahead and add another item of Alliant Credit Union and just put in $100 for Schedule B. Pretty simple. Let's go over to the left and click on Schedule C. I added a business, I called it IT Consulting, and I put in $225,000 in gross income. Now as I scroll down, as soon as I enter that 225, it starts to compute the Schedule C. If I scroll down to the expense section, there's a couple of things I want to show you here, a couple of features that I think are worthy of note. So you might have a time or two where a client says, hey, I think my commission and fees amount is $5,000, but I'm really not sure. What you can do is you can plug in the $5,000, you can right click your mouse, and you can mark that number as an estimated number. That way the field will turn red. We will still use this $5,000 in the overall calculation showing the balance due, but we will also create a diagnostic as a secondary reminder. So my point is, you don't have to go back through every single screen to try to figure out where you marked something as an estimate. As we check our diagnostics, which I'll do here in a couple minutes, we're going to have a diagnostic that reminds you that you have an amount on line 10 of the Schedule C that's marked as an estimate. Another really nice feature too, when I visit customers, a lot of people like to make notes about the things that they do in the return. So if you look at the contract labor field, I put a note, and that's indicated with a little pencil icon. So to see the note or to add a note, simply right click the field and say I'd like to add or edit a note. Now, that's not a great note, but it says this is a note on the contract labor field of Schedule C. You can drop notes anywhere. And you can also review your notes as part of the diagnostics as well. So if you want to check for errors, if you want to review notes, you can do that all as part of the diagnostic process. Okay. Another function too, maybe you've got a client with a Schedule C and they've got car and truck expenses. How would you do it? Well, you would go to the Schedule C because it's forms input. You would go right to line 9, you would click the button, and it says enter the make and model of the first vehicle. So I'll just put in Ford, and here I am on the car and truck expense worksheet. So I would put in the actual and the mileage, actual expenses and the mileage, and then whatever's better, we're going to take that number and drop it back on to the Schedule C. Similarly with depreciation, you have some assets to enter. Go to line 13, click the button, and we're going to say enter a description of the asset. So I'll just put in asset. And from there, we go ahead and drop you on what we call the asset entry worksheet. Now really the only things you need to enter are the 4 things in red on the left-hand side. We've already put in the description of the asset. Let's put in a date, place, and service of 2018, maybe a cost of $15,000, and then we have a field that says type of asset. You would simply select from the list. I'll say rental furnishings. Okay, simple. So that's all I do to put that information in, right? And then when I go back to the form, you can see that I've got $3,000 flowing from the asset entry worksheet directly to line 13 of Schedule C. Now, one more feature I want to show you here. And again, the things that I'm showing you are available anywhere in the program. I just happen to be showing them to you on Schedule C. One of the biggest tools that clients love to use in ProSeries is what we call missing data. So let's say you interview one of your clients and they say, you know what, we don't know what our car and truck expenses are. We don't know what our advertising expense is. We need to get you those numbers. We don't have this particular W-2. So rather than you getting out a piece of paper and writing all those things down, what you do is you go directly to the field that's missing the item. So let's say it's advertising. I right click on the field. I say add or edit missing client information. And what will happen is this box will appear in the upper left. And what this box is a list of all the things that are currently missing from the return. So rather than writing them down, you're going to have this box that you keep adding things to. Now, once you've got everything in your list and you'd like to communicate these directly to your client, we have a button for that that says print/email. Click that. We automatically format an email, and all you have to do is go down to the bottom and click email, and an email gets sent directly to your client with all of the missing information. So that's an excellent feature. Believe it or not, this one feature alone can save about 16 minutes on every return that you do because you're not having to do things as such a manual process. So that's how you, a couple of things we learned here is how you track missing information, how you can mark things as estimated numbers, how you can leave notes on your fields, how you can link to things like car and truck expenses and to depreciation. So the next thing I want to point out in data entry, if you ever wonder where something goes in ProSeries, right? I can't find an entry for some type of an IRA, for example. Don't worry, there's a green button above the forms in use. All you have to do is click where do I enter and type in what you're looking for. If I type in IRA, here are all the different places that relate to an IRA. Hey, I just want to go to the contributions worksheet. Double click and you're on the IRA contributions worksheet. Simple. Maybe I'm looking for something related to education. I type EDU. Here's education expenses, tuition and fees worksheet. Yeah, let's go there. Jump right to that section. Okay, so again, if you can't find it in your from the form, or you can't find it from common forms or the list below, all you have to do is click where do I enter, type in what you're looking for. If it's a W-2, Schedule A, C, it'll take you right to that section of the program. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about diagnostics. Really, one of the best parts of ProSeries is how simple it is to identify any issues that are going to stop that return from being e-filed. And let me give you an example. I'll go back to the first page that we looked at, which was the information worksheet. And down here, you can see in the section here for Kevin Reeves, there's no occupation entered. Okay? And so if there is a field that is considered a mandatory field in our program, and there's no entry there, we're going to automatically put this red background on the field to let you know that that's something you must put in. Okay? Now, in addition to labeling the field with a red background, what we also do is we put a little hyperlink over here on the left next to the information worksheet that says one error. If I go over here and I remove Sally's occupation and she gets the red background, now you're going to see over here it says 2 errors. So the beauty of ProSeries is at the point of data entry, I can identify very quickly what I have to actually put in. I think what it does is it eliminates a lot of the guesswork, because there are a lot of fields on a screen like this, right? Well, I haven't entered a work or a cell phone, but those won't turn red because while they're nice to have, it's not something that necessarily has to be in the return for e-file purposes. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, in addition to the red backgrounds on your fields, you will also get these little links on the left-hand side that specify exactly the screens where you have issues that you need to correct. These are critical issues. So if I want to know what I'm missing on Schedule C and I click one error, well, in this case, it takes me to the field that tells me that, hey, you've put in an estimated amount on commissions. You need to put in the right number and then unmark that field. So I'll put in the figure the client gave me was 7,500. I'll right click and I'll say I want to unmark the estimate. Now you can see the error link on the left hand side on Schedule C has been removed. Okay. I want to know what's missing on my asset entry worksheet. What did I miss there? Oh, there's a field here where I had to identify whether or not this was qualified property for economic stimulus, which it is not. So that error is removed. So I think the diagnostics in ProSeries are excellent. A lot of times, in programs, you see the diagnostics as kind of a separate process. You put in all your data, you're not sure if you got it right or not, you go to diagnostics, and there's constant flipping back and forth, calculations and going back and forth between diagnostics and data entry. ProSeries does it at the time that you're doing the data entry, and it displays the errors on the left to make it really, really easy to find out what you need. Now let's go back to the car and truck example. I click one error. So I have here, I put in Ford. It said date, place, and service, so I need to put that in. So I'll just put a 2018 date. And based on that entry, now it tells me specifically, precisely, what fields I need to fill out on this screen. Okay? So if you have someone who doesn't have maybe as much tax experience, you feel pretty comfortable to know that ProSeries is going to guide them through the process of exactly which fields need to be filled out, which don't. Really excellent diagnostic process in ProSeries. Okay? All right, so I'm going to take you back to the home base screen, and I'm going to add a brand new return just so you can see what this looks like from square one. So I'll click in the upper left-hand side. Here are all the different programs, and I'll start at 1040 return. So remember, it takes us first to the Federal Information Worksheet. So we'll put in a last name of Smith, put in a first name. I'll use my own first name here, Kevin. Okay, you can see right away that the fields that need to be filled out are identified in red. So I'll just pop in a social security number. I'll say he's in sales and his date of birth is 1975. Tells me he's 44. Now for the sake of ease, I'll just make this a single taxpayer. The next fields I need to put in are the address fields. I'll say 105 Main Street. You can pop in the zip code because we have a database of zip codes built in. It automatically will put in the correct city and the state. What else do I need? Well, I need to indicate a filing status. That's red, so I'll put in single. Now, we don't necessarily mark the dependents in red because they may or may not have dependents, but if you have dependents, you can enter as many dependents on the dependent screen as you like. Okay. Now I'm going to go over to the left and add a couple of common forms. I want to add a W-2. I'll put in Intuit as our W-2 example. I'll type in the employer EIN, and you can see that it automatically fills out that information. So in all those places where you enter bank names, child care providers, employers, once you put that in and you go to a different return just by typing in either the SSN or in this case the EIN, it automatically will populate that top section that we need for e-filing. Okay, so I'll just pop in here maybe $85,000, $12,000 in federal tax withheld on my W-2. Let's go to the left. Let's click Schedule B, and let's enter a couple of items of interest. So we'll put in Bank of America, put in 50 bucks, go down here and type in Alliant Credit Union, which was already there from a different return. I'll put in $150. There's my Schedule B. Done. Okay, so that's a really simple return, right? W-2, a couple of 1099 INTs. So I'm pretty much done with data entry, but I want to make sure I fix any issues that I have. What do? Just look over to the left, W-2. There's an error. What did I miss? I click one error. Oh, and it takes me down where I didn't put in this employer state ID number. So we'll pop that figure in. That error is removed. Oh, and it also shows me here on the healthcare worksheet that I failed to answer the question of whether or not they were covered by health insurance, which I just checked the box. Done. So that's really how I do a return. If I want to add other things, I want to add a Schedule C, just click. We'll just type this, put in Biz 1. I'm now on the Schedule C. I just scroll down, put in my gross receipts of 65,000 bucks, and away I go. Okay, and of course there are other questions. It's cash, business. Did they materially participate? Yes. Any 1099s issued? No. Again, but you'll see the errors on the left that tell you exactly what you need to put in. Okay, so that's really how simple it is to use ProSeries. Now, once you're done with the return, save it, and then when you're ready to e-file, it's actually quite simple. We go back to our e-file center in the upper left of the screen. We go right to the e-file center. We select whatever return we'd like to transmit and click the EF button that will send EF now. Simple. Okay? So a couple of last things I want to talk about. I did talk about the e-signature status. Okay, really simple way to do this. If I want to request an e-signature from someone, all I do is click request. Okay, and then it's going to go ahead and fire off an email to the client, as I mentioned, and the client can go ahead and fill out their 8879s electronically. We just do it right there from that link. Another really good feature in ProSeries is if I go back to the original view, we have on the screen this function or this column called Intuit Link. And what Intuit Link is a free service that we provide to our tax preparers, because what we've noticed over the years is you all have about 5 or 6 different ways that you collect documents from your clients every year. They either mail them to you or they drop them off, or maybe you have a folder that they can upload documents to, but you're managing several channels for inbound documents. So what we did was we created Intuit Link as a way that you could link up with the client over a portal and request documents from them so that they can upload their W-2s, their 1099s to you, and you can use them in the preparation of their return. It is a really simple tool, but something that clients absolutely love. And again, it's free to use within the ProSeries application. So you might want to check out Intuit Link when you're doing your demo of our product, because it's something I think will really make you look like you're forward in technology, especially with those clients who like to use mobile devices and things, because as the clients are uploading documents, they can either scan them to their computer, they can use their cell phone to snap photos of them. So again, Intuit Link has become a very popular tool with our customers. One other thing I would like to mention too, if I go to the top of the screen, we have several different ways to import data from other sources to help you complete a tax return faster. So we have one which is called Tax Import, where you can scan all of your clients' documents, their K-1s, their W-2s, their 1099s. We use OCR technology to read those documents and import those into the appropriate screens. Another one, which is super popular, is called Financial Institution Download. We're the only vendor that works with about 400 different banks and brokerage accounts. So let's say you've got a client that uses Smith Barney, and you'd like to import all their trades directly into ProSeries. You can do so. You can import 1099s and W-2s now, which will actually link out to the E-Trade or to the Smith Barney account and allow you to import that data directly in. So we do have some different types of import mechanisms for you to use. Just wanted to make sure we mention those. So that's a quick overview of ProSeries. What we suggest is getting a copy for yourself. Speak to one of our sales agents. They can get you a free copy of 2018 to try for yourself. But I'm hoping that this was kind of a first quick glance at the application, how simple it is, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.